folks, and welcome back to another edition of Money in Motion. Happy Friday. We're making it through the week, just about. But yeah, not a whole lot going on today. A little bit of panic yesterday, but a little bit of rebound in the markets today. So excited to talk about it and break down with you as well. Monte, what's going on, man?
Not much. It's Friday, so I'm feeling pretty good. I'm excited to talk about some various things. Um, Started an interesting pairs trade. Was talking with you a little bit about it before the show. It has to do with some OG DeFi assets, so I'm going to talk about that a little bit. But beyond that, want to do a little bit of macro analysis, take a look at the DXY, take a look at what we might see next week, and kind of brace for some of the price action that we're going to see because we did have earnings in Amazon and Apple, so we'll talk about that and a whole lot more. But thank you for the congrats on the Pokemon cards. It's a shame I had them sitting right here behind me before the show started, and then I moved them. But anyways, CJ, anything you'd like to start off with today, my friend?
Yeah. Just going to recap some of the big names to start.
It's felt like a long week, hasn't it? Or is it just me?
Yeah, I don't know. It's just because I think we haven't been trading a lot of stuff,
Yeah, I think so. I sit in my hands a lot this week.
So, yeah, it's a pretty big gap down from Apple. They've kind of given it all back ever since I think the AI developer conference a few weeks back. But that's obviously playing an impact in the Qs. However, Amazon really impressive in terms of like not only just Amazon's raw price action, but the actual like statistics that we received. And Amazon being such a pillar of like our capitalistic society, the fact that it's an 80% surprise to the upside in revenue is or in earnings is like I think a very strong reflection of people's willingness to spend money on Amazon. And so yeah, I mean, I think not only just having it up 9%, but also has broader ramifications for like maybe the health of the consumer. But I'm not going to extrapolate into macro too far. But
can I give a little bit of a thesis on why I think Amazon? I mean, I talked about it yesterday on the show with Nick on Trading Rebellion, but such a big part of their business is AWS, their servers, and the ability for them to host other people's startups and whatnot. And I think since we saw so many AI startups in the last like month, 2 to 3 months, and they need server space, Amazon's benefited tremendously from that. So yeah, I mean, sure, I bet their numbers look good in terms of sales, but really, I think the biggest factor in that big jump in earnings is AWS and its kind of stranglehold it has on the world's like server hosting population. So interesting to see them beat that bet. That's why I think you would see Amazon beating and showing such positive price action, whereas Apple, another tech giant, not looking so good.
let's hit some other names while we're at it, because there were a lot of earnings reports coming through yesterday. I think we might as well cover Coin now. So Coin had some interesting price action, still continues to. Interesting support level around 85. It was interesting, like right after the initial reaction to earnings, it went above 100 in the after hours. And then now, it's come down and we've seen a little bit more risk off price action. But could be interesting to see where Coin goes. But, Monte, I'll leave this one more to you because I know you actually did trade it. But any thoughts on Coin or that particular reaction to earnings? I feel like it's pretty much there's one summary that I thought did a pretty good job of like making the overall points of Coinbase's earnings. Let me pull it up here.
Sure.
The big picture, Coinbase's earnings seems almost moot given the regulatory overhang of the SEC, alleging it was in violation. All right, yeah. So
I think that's a fair point. That's a fair point. I mean, what's the bigger catalyst? What's the bigger like hanging shoe? Is it the earnings report or is it the SEC? It's definitely the SEC in my opinion. So yeah, they did beat on the top and bottom line, particularly with earnings looking very strong. The estimate was they would have negative EPS, but they ended up having positive EPS, beating by 44%. So when you see that, like, and then you have this kind of limp reaction to those numbers, clearly there's something else at play, right? And I think the catalyst is definitely that fear that the SEC is going to come down with a hammer and make an example out of Coinbase. And furthermore, when it comes to like being risk on or risk off, we talk about that a lot. This this is still very much a risk stock, and it is acting as such. But I my trade, and I shared it with the members of our Discord yesterday, but essentially it was just a spot buy at 89.5, and I like the chances of it rebounding from this level and heading back up towards the $100 level. That's ultimately my goal. I would unload 1/3 of the position there, and ultimately the final 2/3 at around 108. But with this current environment looking so risk off, it's hard to justify really buying anything. I think, like CJ has been stating all week, sometimes the best thing you can do is nothing and just preserve your capital and wait for a more clear opportunity to emerge. Right now, with Coinbase, beating on the top and bottom line pretty significantly, you would expect a more significant reaction. And I think it all goes back to like people's kind of noticing that even though companies beat on earnings, they've been followed by somewhat negative price action. It's happened in Microsoft, it's happened in Google, it happened Tesla. Obviously had earnings and fell hard. So I think when it comes to Coinbase right now, the more important thing is definitely the SEC and the possible, regulatory clarity that they could bring down on the space in the coming weeks to months here, and not so much the earnings report, because obviously those are terrific numbers, especially the earnings. Like I said, people were expecting them to have negative earnings per share, and they ended up having 0.34 for earnings per share. Like that is a tremendous beat, which would ordinarily have it, jumping significantly. Like you said, CJ, it did briefly trade up to around $100, but since then, kind of just lingering below 90 again. So a little bit disappointed with that, but I still am holding it with a tight stop loss. If we dip below basically, $88, I'm out of it. I think that's a pretty safe play and offers you a little bit higher beta exposure to Bitcoin. So if Bitcoin were to make a decent move over the weekend and we were to see some positive price action across the board in crypto, then you could expect Coinbase to open up pretty nicely on Monday. So that's where I'm at with coin, but I'll pass it back to you.
if you were flat coin, what would you do?
I think this is still a decent spot buying opportunity, just because, it did have positive earnings. And sometimes, like, maybe Microsoft is a good example. Like, the earnings are good, but they're not good enough to sustain positive price action. And I think Coinbase is not an example of that. Like this is very, very solid earnings. And we have this doji candle here forming at the bottom of this downtrend. This is a significant level for Coinbase. Um, talked about it in the trade insight in our Discord, but right here at this $86 level, you have some clearly defined risk, which is what I look for if I'm trying to enter a trade, right? You want clearly defined risk. I want to know where I'm going to be getting out, and where I'm going to be taking profit. And like I stated earlier, for me, it's pretty simple. If you want to play Coinbase, I would say the best thing to do rather than playing options, and I'm very glad I didn't play options on this one because I was worried about some possible consolidation before it made a move, and then time decay would have really hurt. Especially if played. I know a lot of people were talking about playing the options that expire today and like playing out of the monies, buying $100 options. I never recommend that. I think that's I've probably lost more money doing that than I have doing anything else, is buying out of the money calls that expire like the same week based on a potential catalyst that I'm expecting. And and I think that also is at play here with coin. A lot of people taking profit on their options, getting out of their calls, and we're seeing that reflected in a little bit of sell pressure today. But overall, back to CJ's question, if I was flat, I think now's an okay time to spot buy. Um, you know, you're getting in $1 higher than I got in. That is totally fine. And then the first place I'd be looking to take profit would be right below 100 at around 99.7 here. That's where I'd be looking to take profit here. I would unload 1/3 of my position, and the final 1/3 would unload up here at around 108, probably just below that at 107.75. That's where I would unload the rest of my position. And I wouldn't get caught up in any sort of euphoria, expecting this thing to break into new all-time highs. I'm just playing this as kind of a, I just like the risk reward ratio. Clearly defined risk here. Some nice price targets up above. And I don't think that necessarily this price action that we saw last week is indicative of what we could plausibly see next week. So it does look like this would be a level at which we'd see a bounce. We've seen, it act as resistance in the past during previous uptrends. So it would be a good place for coin to plausibly bounce. And I think that is kind of, the basis of my trade here. So that is what I would do if I were flat. Basically the same thing I'm doing right now. But I recommend buying spot rather than trading options, just because I think that we could see some possible consolidation around this $90 level. And if you buy options, you're going to get hurt by time decay. If you are going to buy options, consider maybe like a condor strategy. If you need any help learning how to put a condor strategy on, head over to our Discord, and I'd be more than happy to walk you through it. But
I could use a little bit of a refresh on the old Iron Condor as well.
yeah, I'm working on a curriculum course for options education for the Trade the Chain members. So hopefully we can build out like a website, and I've made basically like a beginner's guide to trading each strategy and when you would want to use each strategy, how to apply it, and then maybe I'm going to record a video of me actually applying it, or show a historical example of when that would have been an ideal time to apply that strategy, rather than buying spot or just buying calls or whatever the case may be. So that is coming soon, and something to look forward to as well.
Nice. Yeah, appreciate the efforts, Monte. Yeah, coin's an interesting one. It's I mean, this could be a little bit of a local low in the interim. I don't know. I'm still kind of flat. I feel rather underexposed, as I've said, in regards to these crypto equities. But at the same time, in the past, there's been like, you don't want to be the first person to a lame house party. You know,
That's
what's the
true.
sweet spot? Like, half hour once everybody congregates and starts mingling, because you don't want to just be with the house guests unless they're cool and you know them.
Yeah, then they're giving you a
But
tour of the house and stuff, and it's like, oh, great, yeah. No, you want to, yeah, 30 minutes, that's a sweet spot. But
So in Coinbase, just wait till it looks like a more fun party.
yeah, so you're saying right now that that party's looking a little bit lame and you're not ready to attend quite yet?
Well, I mean, basically, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, for me, it's fitting the bill of what you'd want to see for something that is reversing. It's bouncing off a critical level. Yesterday, we saw some positive price action. Today, we're seeing a little bit more. So, um, yeah, I would like to see like a nice bullish engulfing candle, taking us up to like the $92 level. I think that would be a good trigger for entry. If you're a more conservative trader, if you're like CJ and you don't want to show up early to the party, maybe use 92 as a trigger because typically when we've gone above that level, um, let me just pull up my chart one more time. Typically when we've gotten above that level, as we see here, that's when we start to really run. Um, so that would be an ideal trigger for entry if you are like CJ and you don't want to show up early to the party. You want to wait for people to be there and start mingling. $92 might be that mingling price. I don't even know what the hell I'm saying.
I just heard mingling price. I wasn't even listening.
Thank you. I appreciate that. It's good to know. Good to know
I
you're
was looking at charts.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Let's see what
Okay.
you're looking at then.
I'm caught now.
Yeah, it was hentai. We knew it.
Hey man,
Oh.
these market conditions.
These market conditions got CJ trading oats and looking at a hentai. Just kidding. Okay, I'm done. I'm done talking. I'm muting myself. Go ahead. Do your thing.
Okay. Yeah. So following up on that, maybe today is the day for coffee, or yesterday rather. Or excuse me, not coffee, cocoa. So we'll see. There was a lot of really bullish news this week that like drove us up. So perhaps it's time for the market to have to give some of that back, similar to like what we saw in orange juice and a lot of other stuff. Now you see it bouncing today a bit. I still think. I mean, obviously ES and Nasdaq have kind of been leading here. Well, actually, yeah, they're coming down a bit. I still think Russell to like the trade from 2000 to 2100, like that breakout trade. I think that potential is like if there was a trade for me to have a lot of conviction on, going into the next like couple months or 2 months, maybe even sooner, right? If we start seeing momentum, um, then that's something that I'll just buy into with a good amount of size. I'll buy some futures and try to ride it up to that 2100 level. But other than that, like generally speaking, like I'll say, like I don't know how longer this pullback is gonna last. I don't know if it goes down 10 more percent, but I do have still strong conviction that we do make all-time highs in stocks, and stocks do go higher. So just kind of still actively monitoring that Russell trade. I think is interesting because once momentum comes through, and you're starting to see a little bit today and this morning, might wait till Monday to get a little bit larger position. But that's the type of trade that I'd really be focusing on, or am focusing on.
Sounds good. Thank you for sharing that. Um, let's dive into the realm of crypto because I want to talk about a few things that I've been trading on Didex. Um, just a few different assets. And I've kind of come up with this sort of strategy. It's not really anything too crazy or complicated, but essentially what I'm doing here is shorting comp and longing maker. And this is an interesting one, right? Because they're two OG DeFi products. They have historically trended together with a very high correlation coefficient. That has since disappeared during the month of July as Maker has gone ahead and rallied while Comp has looked. It did rally to start, but now has since looked limp. And I think that sets you up with a really interesting pairs trade. Comp being short Comp, which this chart looks very weak, at least down to like the $50 level, and being long Maker because this chart looks strong. And every time it pulls back, this thing continues to make new all-time highs. We were talking about I forget what chart we were looking at. I think it was just the S&P. Maybe there was a 45-degree angle up and to the right. I mean, this is,
Apple and like Microsoft,
yeah, or
they
something like that. Yeah, this is like a much steeper angle. This is no bunny hill. This is a triple black diamond here, and this thing is, going basically parabolic since July and hasn't showed any signs of slowing down. So I think that uh, if you want to be somewhat like delta neutral, that's kind of an interesting way to play it. Sentiment around these two assets as well, from the Trade the Chain dashboard, has been essentially opposite. People are super bullish Maker and they're super bearish Comp. So I think there is a chance that we could see continued divergence between those two assets. And if that's the case, then that sets you up for some really nice profitability. But then if that relationship does come back, then you kind of can choose the slower horse, close the hedge, and you're sitting pretty. So that's just a trade I wanted to share with you guys. I entered it late last night and am continuing it into this morning.
Yeah, now that I've actually looked at a lot of the DeFi charts and like some of these crypto charts, that doesn't look too bad. Like for instance, Curve looks really good. It looks like it wants to go back above 70 cents. So I think that's an interesting one.
Yeah, I was going to ask you
Down the
if you
road.
were going to buy some Curve here because, I know you had mentioned that after, that big liquidity grab we saw, price did continue down briefly, but are you thinking about, you've been talking about how you're underexposed. You're saying now that I look at it, DeFi is looking good. This sounds like a CJ that's ready to make a purchase, if you ask me.
I've
Are
honestly just been too lazy to buy anything. But yeah, I don't have a lot of um, ever since KuCoin shut down, I haven't really traded a lot of crypto futures, and I haven't really loaded up a new brokerage account. Thing like BingX potentially, obviously DYDX if you're into DeFi and that type of thing. But yeah, like Curve. The only thing I am in a Lido position. I've been holding this Lido position for like 3 weeks, and it's been pretty bad. I bought it at like $2, and it's gone down to like 180 or whatever. But it's finally starting to bounce back. And if DeFi is a little bit more healthy and recovers here, I'll probably just hold that position and maintain that. But that's not to say that like Curve is not in a nice setup right now, or like for instance, just some of the other charts. I mean, we've still got like some time left. Why don't we? I'll bring some up real quick.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I want to hear your thoughts on DeFi for sure, or just any crypto asset in general right now, because Bitcoin clearly not the thing to be trading, but Curve I think looks. You had mentioned it a few days back that it may be a good day to buy. After we've had this day of bullish price action, you still thinking about a potential purchase?
I'm probably not going to trade this one, but like let's say it was last year this time, and we had the exact same market conditions, and I had a freshly loaded mag and KuCoin that I could trade, then yeah, I probably would take a shot on this. But I don't know, kind of trying to walk back the gunslinger days to a certain respect. Not always what they are cracked up to be, but I definitely think there's some interesting opportunities. Something that's really caught my mind is optimism. Maybe this will be the local top because I'm bringing it up after an amazing run. But clearly, if you just look at the alts that have outperformed, I think it's clear to locate them. Optimism is one, really has been doing well on the back of that base narrative.
Yeah.
Coinbase is layer two and so forth. So maybe that's a new potential catalyst. I mean, this is something that continues to trend, and this is what you want to see, especially when Bitcoin's doing nothing. I've seen a lot of folks talking about this new project,
What's that?
Unibot, and it's done very well, I think. And a lot of people are saying, I mean, a lot of traders who I actually respect are saying potentially over 1,000 on this one. I have to do a little bit more research, but I do think that that's interesting. Let me just get the actual definition of the project up so we know what we're talking about.
Yeah, I honestly haven't heard anything about it.
Cookie keeps talking about it. That's why. That's the only reason I know about it. Unibot, the fastest Telegram Uniswap sniper that facilitates lightning fast swaps and snipers, accessible to all users with a 1% transaction fee. Unibot stands out from its competitors primarily due to its exceptional speed, driven by advanced algos and robust infrastructure. This includes private nodes for snipers, a private transaction option for buying and selling tokens, and a token tracker. So I guess it just gives you better execution when you are trading around DeFi. If you hold in particular things. This is like live research we're doing. Turning into a Martin Shkreli
Oh God, don't say that.
stream where he's just on Adderall clacking around on the computer a million miles an hour.
He's got the calculator up, the notes app up, and it's just like gibberish. I do have one more question for you before we wrap things up, so hurry up with your research, Shkreli.
Well, why don't you ask the question now?
Well, you've been talking about how you feel underexposed to crypto related equities, and I've been seeing so many people on Twitter, like so many, talking about how, oh, these formations look good. I see a bull flag forming in Riot and Mara. Coinbase looks like it's set to rebound. Any crypto related equity in particular that you feel most underexposed to? I want to get a feel for what you are looking to buy when the time is right.
Look, I mean, don't just blindly follow me, but I think it's more of a my way doesn't have to be the best way, or it might not be, but it's very simple, and it's the principle of keeping it simple, stupid. So focusing on a singular crypto equity. For my case, it's coin, because I like that particular asset. I understand the benefits of it. It's always hard for me to keep a straight face when your dog starts chilling and shaking behind you. But I mean, that's the one for me. And I've said this, and I'll keep saying it. But I the reason maybe why I've been so picky on an entry in some of these assets is because of how much capital I want to deploy into them. So I don't really want. I want it to be very low margin of error, if possible. Sometimes, it's not bad buying into momentum as well. When crypto was really going up in 2021, you could really just buy into momentum. And even in coin's recent run, you could have still bought, even if you didn't buy 50 or 60, you could have still bought 70, even the day of when it went to $91. It's always that classic trade. I love it in the Livermore book too, where he talks about how, he watched one particular stock for 3 months. He watched it climb up 30% and was incredibly patient because he had to make money on this trade. It was his last chance. He was in debt $1 million. And once the stock went to 91, he's like, all right, I'm buying it. And then it closed the day at 114 because it's that psychological element of like something that goes from 90, it's probably going to hit 100, especially if it's been trending bullish from like 70, 80, 90 all the way up.
Right.
So that was the best like Coinbase trade. And maybe we get another shot at that. But like, I think if you think about the time that it also takes, like for the market to kind of like for profit takers to like fully exit and then for like a new bullish catalyst to come. So look, I'm either going to end up buying coin in like the 80s or 70s, or I'm going to be buying it into momentum up around the upper 90s. Like that's basically what's going to happen. I have a feeling. So
yeah, and I mean either way, that's a valid strategy. I understand why you'd wait for more strength before jumping into it, but
like it's not like this isn't a normal trade where I'm like, oh, I'm going to lose 1%. It's like this is I want it to be a very obvious like fat pitch to a certain regard.
yeah, I feel you.
That's all I've got today, though. Do you have any other assets that you've been trading or anything you'd like to hit?
No, really, that's all for me. Thank you guys for watching. Really appreciate it. As always, you guys are the best. Mike, Carlos, Ross, appreciate the comments. Carlos, here I do have a little showcase for you of some vintage holographic Pokemon cards I picked up. These are from 1999 and they're in mint condition. So I'm going to send them in for grading. But yeah, a few nice little Pokemon cards. But anyways, of course, definitely head over to tradethechain.com. Check out that 14-day free trial. You can get access to our trade insights. You can talk to CJ and myself and Nick and everyone else in the community. It's definitely worth it. Oh, you're Sleepy Puppy. What's up, Sleepy Puppy? And of course, you get a 14-day free trial, money back if you don't like it. But I'm sure you will. Definitely check it out. You also get access to the sentiment dashboard, which I kind of used as the basis for my comp maker trade. And that is about all. Please like and subscribe. But CJ, anything else you want to add before we wrap things up?
Yeah, we'll see you guys back here Monday, same time. I hope you have a wonderful weekend, and we'll see you then. Take care.